So nice to meet you. Hi.
Hello, good to meet you.
Good to meet you. Do you want to introduce yourself? What do you do? Who you are?
Absolutely. So my name's Thomas Gabbini. I'm an Elvis tribute. Well, a new Elvis tribute, that's for sure. I'm 21 years old. I've been in European final before. Never won it, unfortunately, but I've been in some finals for competitions and stuff. And yeah, just sort of started out really in the Elvis tribute world, I guess. And yeah, I'm excited. Excited. Really am.
It's good. It's good having a lot of younger people in. I'm turning 21 this year, and it's just good having people my age
Right.
who still kind of like carry it on. Because there's a lot of older people now, I think.
There is a lot of older people. It's definitely it was definitely an older profession. I mean, when I was growing up, looking at it, there was a lot of older guys, but now, I mean, you've got so many young, incredible, talented people, and they're winning competitions as well. The younger ones are winning, and yeah, really a real driving force, and they've got the crowd, which is another thing which is so hard to get, is to get that following and that backing. But these young guys just seem to do it really well. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that's me too.
Well, from what I've seen, you're really good. So that's a plus. You
Thank
are
you very
really good.
much.
Yeah, I like seeing the new younger like generation come in. Especially like in the audiences, I notice a lot of people like around our age as well, and younger.
Yeah, and younger. That's the thing. I went to a couple of Elvis shows recently, and there's so many sort of like 12, 13-year-olds coming along now, and it's like even younger than that. You look at 6-year-olds, and it's like it can't all be the parents. I mean, obviously the parents probably have some influence there, but it's to actually captivate, especially younger people as well, especially nowadays with such quick content and the music which is around now, for people to still really love Elvis music. I mean, I see it at my own shows as well. There's just so many young people, and it just blows my mind. It really does. So it's just a testament, really, to how good he was and what he achieved, even though he was only 42. When he passed away, to achieve what he achieved in that short amount of time, to me, is just crazy, absolutely crazy.
I really cannot see how a single human being just did all of that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is.
Just wow. So, what is your favorite era of Elvis? Would you say like you like performing or just in general?
Do you know what? That's really tough, and it's one of the things for me which changes all the time. It really does. Me personally, I love doing a lot of the movie stuff. I really enjoy that because it's just sort of fun sort of songs. Some of them are a little bit on the strange side as well, but they're just so sort of like fun and a little bit different. But I think it's an actual era. I do really love Elvis in the 70s. I think the songs that he sung in the 70s, those powerful ballads that he sung, they just touch you so emotionally, and it's just his power and his voice in that era is just perfect for me. So I'd say if I were to sit and listen to Elvis music, of an evening or something, it would be the 70s that I'd probably put on. Um, but yeah, performing, I'd say movies because you can like probably swing those hips about, have a good time.
Yeah, I do love the 70s when he's got a big band behind him. He just sounds
Yeah,
amazing. What would
yeah.
be.
You can tell he really enjoyed that.
Go on, sorry.
It's all right.
So, what would be your favorite jumpsuit?
Well, I've actually got one coming now. My first proper jumpsuit that I've had, because the first jumpsuit I had when I was about 12 years old, just some terrible one from, a costume shop. But so I've got my first one coming. It's the tiger suit, or I think it was called was it the Mad Tiger suit? Someone will be able to tell me. I think it was Mad Tiger. But that is a suit that I've got coming, and that is one of my favourites. But if it's not that, it would have to be the peacock jumpsuit for me. I think that is just such a the detail and beautiful one. Yes, either one of those two for me because they're very unique as well, a bit quirky.
Yeah, I love them. I especially love like all the little details on them that you don't really see until you pay attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're so it's the little details which make all the difference, and I think they just were Elvis. Those sort of jumps were Elvis, really, and those sort of more detailed ones I really love.
Yeah. So what got you started? What kind of like pushed you in?
This is a hard question. It's there's a lot of reasons, really. I mean, I've always loved all sorts of music anyway, growing up, from like Michael Jackson, all the old stuff. I've always just loved all sorts of music. But for me, it wasn't until I was about 13 years old. I'd obviously heard of Elvis, but not really taken much notice of him, really. And nobody in my family was particularly a massive Elvis fan. I mean, my mum was a George Michael fan, so she wasn't really into sort of like Elvis music. She's a massive fan, more so now, but that is all because of me. But yeah, basically, I went on holiday. I believe it was to Cyprus, and there was an Elvis tribute that we saw there. His name escapes me now. I think he is still doing it over there, and he had a projector screen behind him, and it had videos of Elvis in the back, and he was copying it exactly without looking at the screen. And I thought, who is that guy that he's copying? It was like he just so amazing. Just I was just in awe. I can remember the video was where he was singing, it was the "Did You Ever" scene in GI Blues when he sings "Did You Ever," and it just was like, who is that guy? So I come home from the holiday, and it turns out we already had an Elvis album. It's the gold one, a number one hits one. So we already had that album. So I played it on repeat and repeat. And I just started collecting and looking into him. Yeah, he was about 13 years old, I'd say. And I just got so encapsulated by him in every way, his voice and everything. And then every day I got home from school, I'd put on an Elvis film or DVD, and I just watched and copied everything that he'd done. I don't know why, I just was obsessed. And for me, it was just everything about his career I loved from the beginning all the way to the end. For me, was just he was just incredible, and I never thought that anybody would be, into Elvis like I was. I thought I was always a bit weird to be into Elvis, especially at such a young age, as we said. Um, but it just seems to be such a massive community, and yeah, I just loved the man. That was how I got into Elvis, really. Um, so yeah,
I find that when you're younger, I remember when I got into Elvis, I was really young, and there was such a like thing about you're too young to know Elvis, and the way that people would
yeah.
look at you about it. Yeah,
Yeah, it was definitely something which people thought would be a phase. Definitely, a lot of sort of like friends and teachers at school and everything like that. Everyone thought, "Oh, this is just past." It'd be over it. But I just never was really, and I knew, from very young as well, that from a very young age, I was at the beginning a tribute to Elvis, but I wanted to sing his songs. And at school, I got bullied for that a lot because obviously that wasn't the music that was popular, and yeah, people just thought it was so strange. But I knew it was what I wanted to do, and there was nothing that anybody was going to stop me doing it. So yeah, my passion just grew really, and it's still to this day I learn more and more stuff about Elvis which I never knew before. So yeah, he's just incredible.
he is. He really is. And it's good though that you've carried it on from so young up until now. That you're still going and you're kind of I keep bringing it back to like younger generation, but it is the fact that you're kind of carrying on Elvis's legacy in a way.
No, absolutely, that's the thing, and it's for me, it's all about passing it on as much as I think Elvis can do that himself. With his music, it's just about playing his music, and I think his music speaks for himself, really. But I think to be able to go out to these places that I go and sing, be it the small clubs and the bigger venues, it's just a privilege because you can see there's fans there, and there's also people that kind of know Elvis but don't really know a lot about him. But then you get encapsulated and go, oh, actually, he's got some really good songs, and he's got a lot of great, he's just got everything about him. It's just great, as we say, and it's just amazing what you can do. It's just incredible, incredible.
It is. It's that sense of community as well. You all come together and you all just know the songs and it does feel. I have a friend who always says it's like an Elvis family, and it really is.
It is. It is. It was one of the things I was very nervous when I I first went to my first sort of Elvis sort of festival or competition, because I was like, what is it going to be like? You know, is it going to be sort of a closed community or something? But it's just so open. It's just incredible. And even, you know, the tributes themselves, when I mix with others, there's just such a family there, you know, from the fan base to the tributes. And it's still just a great event out of all these festivals. I mean, I'd love to go to more, but it's just there's so many that it's like, you know, balancing that time to be able to go to all of them. But yeah, you're right. It is a real family, and it's something that's it's not there with everything. So for Elves to be able to do that and bring these people to, I think is just again just incredible.
I think you don't realise how many festivals there are until you're actually like looking into it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's practically one every month nowadays.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Graceland?
I haven't been to Graceland. No, it's something I really, really want to do. I think any Elvis fan wants to do it, you know. And I go to all of my gigs, and people say to me, "Oh, have you been to Graceland? Have you seen his house?" And I always say, "No, unfortunately not." But it's my dream to do it, and I will definitely. Hopefully next year will be just incredible. It's just something for me which will be just such an eye-opening experience. I think to be that close to, you know, I mean, someone's house is just it means everything to people. So to be in the heart of that man's house would just be absolutely amazing for me. Um, so yeah, hopefully next year. That's my aim. But
I think as
it's
well
the aim.
because Elvis's house was like his sanctuary and how private he was. It must
Yeah,
just be so unreal. It really
yeah.
is the
It's just
biggest dream to go.
yeah, absolutely. It's one of them places which I think it's just synonymous. Even if you're not an Elvis fan, I think it is just one of them places which everybody sort of wants to go to. And it's just I want to go. I'm going to go, and I'm going to go multiple times, hopefully.
I hope so. Very cool to see the pictures. So, you know Graceland. What would be your favourite room from Graceland if you could just pick one?
Ooh, it's got to be a jungle room. It's got to be. You know, when we talk about earlier about my favourite genre of sort of like the 70s style, sort of that whole sort of jungle room album he done in there, and just the whole sort of feel to be in. I think that's his true sound. You know what I mean? It's sort of like he's just sort of bought whatever for the room and just sort of gone crazy with it. And for me, I think that's a true Elvis, and to be in that room would just be amazing. I think.
It's just the biggest. I think that room is the biggest like self-expression in the house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a favourite album?
Oh, do you know what? I don't know. I don't know. Again, it's one of the things which can just change because he's got so much vast amount of sort of genres and styles that, you know, one day I could really love a country album and one day a gospel album, you know. So it's really, really difficult for me. You know, it just jumps around all the time. I do really like I say, a lot of the 70s stuff. Like Way Down is a great album for me. I really like that. And again, sort of anything in the 70s, any album from the 70s for me is just brilliant. It's just great. You can see and hear that he's just loving everything and he's doing the music that he wants to do. I think that's why I think I love that the most, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think the 70s were just so unbeatable. And the fact that he did so many shows.
Yeah, yeah. That it's crazy to think how many he done. I mean, I don't know if I could do that. I mean, I'm 21 and I don't think I could do that. So it definitely, you know, just to tip your cap to that, really.
Set the bar high.
Yeah.
So what was your like first show? When was it? What was it like?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what it was like. It was awful. It was absolutely terrible. Yeah, it was about, again, it was quite a while after I got into Elvis. I'd say about 14. My mum had a surprise birthday party party, and I just said to my uncle who was organising, I said, "Oh, could I just sing and just sort of like try it out?" So I put a terrible jumpsuit on. I didn't do a quiffed hairstyle. I just kept my spiky hair, which I had as a kid, and just got up there, and I couldn't sing. I mean, when I started, I just could not sing a note at all. And that was my first show. I think I'd done about 3 songs. That was it. I think I'd done CC Reader, Suspicious Minds, and American Trilogy. And doing American Trilogy when you can't sing is definitely not a good idea. So yeah, that was sort of my first sort of show, but my first sort of paid sort of gig or sort of like more so serious thing was when I was about 15. And again, I was terrible. It was just awful. So it was really difficult to teach myself to sing. Yeah, those were my first shows, and they were just I, I can't listen back. That's all I can say. I can't listen back to them.
Did you find it really difficult learning how to sing kind of like Elvis and picking up his mannerisms and stuff?
It's really difficult because again, he's so unique. He's not he doesn't have a normal voice or a particular sort of style. Like we say, he's done so many different genres as well that his voice sort of change. His voice changes from the 50s when he started out when he was 19. To the late 70s, his voice is completely different. And being a kid, I mean, there was no way I was going to be able to get his deep voice being 15. So yeah, it was difficult. But like I say, I just watched and I copied him every single day. I think it was solidly after school for about 3 years. And I then went away and just taught myself how to sing. But I didn't teach myself just in my own singing voice. I tried to teach myself in more of like an Elvisy sort of style because I thought it'd just be a lot easier that way. If it was what I wanted to do, because by that time I decided, right, I do want to definitely sort of become sort of like a tribute to Elvis. I think what I'm going to have to do is sort of try and sing in his style before I even start, so that way it just comes sort of naturally. But yeah, it's really not easy, and definitely I'd say even then when I could sing, I think it's only sort of in the last sort of year or so that I'm sort of comfortable with my voice now, and I sort of know how to use it a lot more. So yeah, it took a very long time to get his style.
It would be pretty impressive if at like 14, 15 you could just belt out American Trilogy like perfectly.
Yeah, yeah,
I think as well because his voice is so unique, it's gonna be hard to emulate that, but keep it like
yeah,
to yourself as well. You know what I mean? Like keep it
yeah. It's
original.
something. It's something I've struggled with because you sort of want. I found with my shows, you sort of want to be Elvis, but you don't want to be Elvis 100%, if that makes sense. Although you want to sort of capture what he was in sort of a way which works. Because if you went up on stage in some of these places, if you go and say, I don't know, a social club or something, or a hotel, and you get up and sing, being 100% Elvis doesn't always sort of work. You have to sort of kind of incorporate your own sort of style. I think we see a lot of that with people like Dean Z. He's very much sort of Elvis, but he's self as well, and he's just so great at that, and that's what you try and do. I think as a tribute, me anyway. There's a lot of tributes that want to be 100% to the dot, to the T of Elvis, but I think with that sort of freedom, he was very free in his performances, Elvis. So I think to be able to sort of put your own sort of style in it, while still people can look at you and go, oh, he's got what Elvis was there, and he's got the voice and he's got the moves, but he's sort of himself as well. I think that really makes a difference, really, and I think Elvis would like that as well because I'm pretty sure he met a tribute and said that as long as he was fine with him being a tribute, but he wanted to pursue his own things as well. And I think that's sort of where I sort of get my sort of style is I take what he said there and sort of just put my own spin on it as well as keeping it true to Elvis as much as I can.
It's important to do that though. I think it must be easy to get lost in the idea and the image of Elvis. So to keep true to yourself at the same time and kind of be like, I am me. It's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely it keeps you grounded. Definitely, if you can be yourself as well on stage, because you're never going to be somebody else. Nobody's going to be me. No one's going to be you. You know what I mean? No one can ever be as good as you are as you are as you. So for me, it's like being yourself on stage as well as trying to sort of encapture Elvis. It just makes you a lot more humble as well. And when people come up and speak to you, you can sort of be yourself and don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. Um, so yeah, I think there's no point trying to be Elvis 100% because you're never
Definitely.
gonna. It's never gonna happen. No, no one can be Elvis.
I always find it funny when people say to tributes, "Well, you don't look like Elvis."
Yeah, that
Not
that
not a
that happens a
whole
lot.
lot
I mean,
people could do
especially
about that.
yeah, it's especially me. I mean, day to day. I mean, like I like to grow my beard out a little bit more and stuff like that because I don't really want to sort of look like Elvis all the time because it isn't me. The true me is me. Yet again. So it's really nice. But obviously, yeah, you get that. People ask you in the street, "Oh, what do you do for a job?" And it's like, "I'm an Elvis tribute," and they go, "Right, okay, you look nothing like him." Like, thanks, yeah, I appreciate it. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I think.
I think it goes insane when people like you've got to start altering yourself to look like Elvis. That's kind of the line I think when it comes to like plastic
Yeah,
surgery and like everything else. You've lost yourself.
yeah. I think you have. Yeah, I think you're chasing something which is never going to really happen.
Definitely. So, do you have a favorite movie?
Oh, again, it's so difficult. Do you know what? I actually do think I know this one. I think for me, it's Rastabout. I absolutely love Rastabout, that film. Close second, I'd have to say GI Blues. I really love GI Blues, but Rastabout for me is a film. It's a soundtrack as well, which I just love every song from that film. And I think the story is quirky. I think he's just really cool and suave in that film. It's just a fun, light-hearted film as well. It's not too serious. It's got a nice story, and I think that's my favourite film, definitely.
I love his film era in whole. The soundtracks I find are better than the movies.
Yeah, absolutely. They're quirky songs on there as well. I mean, yeah, it's just brilliant. It's just a bit of fun. I think it was perfect for the time in his career. I think.
I think definitely it launched him into this whole other world of like being so versatile with acting and singing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know it definitely not all of them were the films that he wanted to do, and I know he wanted to be taken a lot more seriously. And I think if he hadn't given the chance, he probably would have changed some of the films that he'd done over the years. But I think, again, like we say, I think it gives you a whole new dynamic. And I think it just proves how talented he was, even whether he was being serious or, sort of silly films. I mean, Charo, of course, is a film to look at for more of a serious Elvis side. It doesn't have any sort of music. It's just got the title track. Um, and again, in that, he's so cool with the beard. In that, he's just so cool and suave. It just proves how talented he truly was. So I think, yeah, I loved him.
I like the fact that in I think it was Charo, Elvis didn't like the beard, so he made everybody else grow a beard as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I just think his influence on people and music now, it's good to see that it's still there and it's still strong because a lot of music is quite I'd say like over processed now and done real digital. To have proper music and proper instruments, you really can't beat that.
yeah. Absolutely. I think, and you could tell that he loved that. I mean, with his when he got the orchestra implemented as well later on in his career, you could tell that he had a real appreciation just for the music as well, not just for his singing. It was the whole sort of spectacle of the horn section and all of it, the drums, the guitars. You could really tell he was passionate about that. And I just think that even today, I mean, it is very processed today, but I think you can still in the style, and I think the sort of shock factor that music now, I think it's all. a tribute to Elvis, because I think if he didn't do what he'd done when he first started his career, I don't think, maybe someone later on down the line would have probably changed music. You never know. But I think he changed music for the better, and you can still hear his influence today, and it is really crazy. But yeah, like we say, it's very over processed today, and it is a shame that we've lost a lot of that sort of what music is really. Um, like the drums now are all processed, it's fake, brass and all that stuff. It is sad. But it's the way the world's going, unfortunately.
I I miss the old quartets and the big
Yeah,
harmonies and all that. When you've got a big harmony behind Elvis, it just sounds amazing.
yeah, it is beautiful, and he clearly he loved all of the backing singers that he had. I mean, you could tell they played a big part in every sort of song that he'd done, and like I say, especially those ballads. And again, American Trilogy. I mean, there's a whole section where they sing a whole verse about him singing. So you know he clearly appreciated music, and he knew about music. As much as he didn't write his own songs, he knew how to take a song and make a song just brilliant.
It's good as well how he had so much time and respect for everybody in his band. He wasn't one of those like I'm gonna walk on stage and that's it, like don't care. The fact that everybody in his band, he was amazing with them all.
Yeah, it was. It's interesting to see because you hear these stories nowadays of sort of like diva artists and things like that, and you could tell that he just wasn't that. He just loved everybody, and I think that makes him so unique as well, because nobody has anything bad to say about Elvis. And when you hear these amazing stories from people that knew him that are still alive today, you can tell that they just love being around him, and it's great to hear. It's just amazing to hear.
It is. Especially like you said, the people who are still around today, the way they speak about him. I don't hear many people have a bad word to say about him and who he was as a person.
You know.
So, do you have any big upcoming shows, festivals, events?
Well, yes. So next year I'm in the European Elvis competition, which is in Birmingham, which is the first time doing that competition. I'm also in NovaFest as well next year, which is another very tough competition. Um, I've got lots of other shows, ticketed events that I'm doing next year in Essex, Devon, Bournemouth, all over the place. My shows are going, and next year, fingers crossed, we're hitting theatres next year with a band, with my sort of Elvis show, which should be really good, and I'm really looking forward to that. It's what I've always wanted, was a big band, like we say, a big band, and then theatres would be amazing for me. Um, yeah,
That's gonna sound so good.
yeah, absolutely. Hopefully it all goes through. It's in the planning, um, and hopefully by about April time next year, you should see me in a theatre near you soon.
Well, I think I'm going to NovaFest next year, so I'll see you at NovaFest.
Absolutely, yes. I'm looking forward to that. I've only ever done sort of like a few competitions before, because for me, I don't really like competitions. Well, I never used to like competitions because I used to, you know, on the day, I still believe that on any sort of day in a final or whatever, I think anybody can win. I really do, and I think sometimes some tributes can get clouded with the fact of, oh well, it's be or end all of winning these competitions, but it's not. It really isn't. It's everybody's unique and different in their own way. Some people are going to win lots of competitions. Some people might only win one in their career. For me, it's just about being in that atmosphere and just being part of that one, like we say, that one big family, and getting in touch again with all the other tributes. Having a laugh and just doing what we love and just singing, because I love it. I mean, I'll be next to go on in the competition. Maybe the person on before me, and I'll just be stood there in awe, just watching them and looking at their take on how they do it. Because, like we say, everybody does it differently. It's just amazing. I just love competitions for that reason, not so much winning or anything. I know it sounds really cliche. Oh, it's not about the winning. It would be amazing to win, obviously, but for me, it's just being there and just sharing that passion for me is just brilliant.
It's good to see how everybody does it in their own way. It really
Yeah,
is interesting to watch how they perceive Elvis and then how they portray him afterwards. I don't think any
yeah.
two tributes are the same.
No, absolutely, and I think that's the beauty of it now, especially like we said at the beginning about the youngsters coming in. We've got a different perspective of Elvis, and everybody looks at Elvis differently. They have different periods which they love of Elvis. But I think that's what's so good, and I think that's why I think you don't have favorite tributes, that you probably go to all the time or things like that. But it's good to see others as well because, oh, okay, so they interpret him in this way, or they do the movies like this, and then they do the 70s like this, and it's just really interesting. Everybody's take. I mean, again, it's like you look at his dance moves in the 50s. Everybody does that differently. Nobody does it the same. Some people do it quite close to how Elvis done it. Other people do it sort of like take a style from that and just sort of do their own thing. So it's really interesting to me to see. And like I say, I'm just in awe. And then to listen to their voices when they sing songs like Hurt and, American Trilogy, it's just, wow. I just love it. Love it.
It is fantastic. When you see people like Dean Z and the way he moves, that is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. It's crazy. And yeah, Dean is, I mentioned him earlier. He's right up there. I mean, he's got a great look, natural great look as well. And he's just, again, he's himself, but he encapsulates Elvis, but he's himself as well. And that's, so brilliant and hard to do. And I think, again, that's what makes him so good because he is himself as well as Elvis. And yeah, his moves are just crazy, absolutely crazy. I mean, even, I think my moves sometimes are crazy, but I look at him and think, you're a lot older than me and I'm out of breath watching you. So yeah, it's crazy. It is.
He's so down to earth as well. You find quite a lot of tributes. They are so down to earth and so humble to the fact that like Elvis has given them this kind of role to play. It's nice to
Absolutely,
see.
yeah. It is really nice to see. Yeah, I've been fortunate to speak to Dean a couple of times, and he's got time for everybody, and I think he encapsulates Elvis in that way as well. In that time, and there's so many other great. I mean, Bill Cherry as well for me is really fantastic,
Yeah.
and he's so lovely as well. You know, Ben Portsmouth as well. I saw him again the other day, and he's just just a lovely guy. Um, I think that's what makes you a good tribute as well. I think to anybody, because you've got to be humble. Because again, you could be a great singer, but you're being somebody, you're being Elvis, and it's just crazy. It really is.
Ben was the first tribute I saw, and it was something about I've heard Elvis on a record and everywhere else, but you hear something like that, and it just blew my mind. I was completely blown away the fact that that voice could come out of somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get that as well. Yeah, he's fantastic. You can go all day with all of the fantastic ones. I mean, I think my first tribute, other than the one that I saw when I was really young, the think the first actual tribute I saw at a theatre was Chris Connor, and he is just fantastic. That 70s Elvis, he's just brilliant. And again, they're all so different. Ben's style to Chris Connor's style, and Dean's style. They're all three completely different, tributes in their own right. And again, it's just amazing. No two are the same. You can go to another tribute one night and another the next night, and it could be a completely different experience. It's just amazing. Elvis is amazing. Full stop. Elvis is
Full
amazing.
stop. Sort of fun. You could go to a massive theatre or you could go to a social club, and no two nights are ever the same.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, it's definitely it's weird to get your head around. I mean, for me, I'm not lucky enough to go into theatres, all the time like Ben and Dean Z. But it doesn't matter where I sing really. It's like you can tell that people appreciate what you're doing. Um, you know, some nights they could be dancing from the minute you start singing. Sometimes it takes them a while to warm up, you know. Um, but yeah, it's just incredible. It really is how different the crowds can be. Um, and yeah, it's about getting them on your side really. And you know, they're always what I find is everyone's always skeptical when you first come out because they're like, if you're an Elvis fan especially, you have a real, as we say about tributes, you have your own perspective on Elvis, you know, on what your thoughts of him are and your take on Elvis is. So, you know, you could come out and you could do a really good job of, you know, singing all the songs and stuff like that. But for them, maybe you didn't capture Elvis the way that they remember him as such. So it's about getting people on the side really and understanding, you know, I'm still me. I'm just trying to, you know, pass Elvis's music on as best as I can, and you know, just do Elvis justice. That's all you can really do, really.
It's difficult when you come out and you weigh up your whole audience and the fear of the first song. And then
Yeah,
I've done shows where you play a song and the crowd is silent afterwards. So it's
yeah,
it's really as well. It takes a lot to keep the momentum going as well and the energy, and especially emulating Elvis's energy too.
yeah. See, that's the thing. It's like when you, like you say, is energy. When I do my first set, I always do early Elvis when I come out, and you know, like we say, it's so high energy, and you're doing all these moves and things like that. But when you go to social clubs or things like that, and some of them aren't Elvis fans. Obviously, they're just regulars that go in there, and you know, you come out and you're doing all these moves, and then the song finishes, and it's sort of like a golf clap going on around there, and it's like, okay, then this is going to be a long evening.
The
But you know what?
scattered clap.
Most of the time, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, most of the time they always warm up in the end.
It's good. It's the hardest part I find is what to say between songs.
Yeah, it's definitely something which I've only recently got the hang of. Again, I'm still very young in my sort of career. I'd say now I sort of just know. It's one of them things you just over time, if you experience enough different sort of crowds, you know, you just sort of get the hang of it really, and it all just comes naturally as long as you stay true to yourself and just sort of read the room. Really, that's all I can say. It's just read the room and just yeah, if they're a bit quiet, maybe you know try and get them all excited. Maybe I normally go out and sort of pick on somebody and just sort of you know get them interested in listening. But yeah, it all comes with just practice. I mean, yeah, I was awful when I first started. My head was down to the floor. You know, I just hated it when I first started. But now I just go out and you know, you just got to, if you can sing and you know what you're doing. You know, there's no reason. You know, not everybody's going to like you. You know, that's just part of it. You know, I mean, even Elvis. I mean, Elvis is so huge, but there's even people who aren't fans of Elvis. You know, which to me is absolutely crazy. Um, but yeah, it's just not everyone's going to love you, but as long as most people do, that's all that matters.
Exactly. As long as there's just some interaction. And it's good
Yeah,
to see ETAs having that interaction with the audience because I've seen some things where there's like a wall between them and the audience and it just seems so like there's no interaction in the middle.
yeah, and that leads back into what we were saying before about being yourself, because that's the thing. If I'm going out there and say I'm just trying to be Elvis to the T, exactly what he done at his shows, just be Elvis, Elvis. It comes to them lulls in songs in between songs. So it's like, well, what do I say now then? Because I'm not. But if you as well, you know, you can just sort of have a laugh with the audience and just sort of because you're comfortable. Because I'm being me, even though I'm betraying myself of Elvis, I'm still being me. So yeah, I think that's so key because without them, the audience, there is no show. You know,
Yeah.
again, like I say, some people aren't massive Elvis fans. You go to they say to me at the end of the shows, they come up and they go, "Oh, I've never really been a massive Elvis fan. I've only known a few Elvis songs, but you were brilliant, and I really enjoyed it." And that's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're not a hardcore Elvis fan. I just want people to have a good time and just try and be Elvis as close as possible, but still being yourself. And I think that really helps if you can be yourself.
Exactly. And if you get people who aren't Elvis fans and at the end of the night they've enjoyed it, then you've done your job right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think that like the more that you go out and you do things, the easier it gets. Like, I definitely think
Oh
that
yeah.
like the audience will grow and all that, and it's word of mouth and
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult thing. I mean, even only now am I sort of starting to pick up sort of more sort of sort of fans, if you want to call it that, or followers that follow me about a lot more. It's a slow burn. I mean, some people could do it overnight. You could start and then you just, your family puts it out and shares it all around, and then before you know it, you've got 1,000 followers or whatever. But for me, it's definitely been really difficult. I'm quite a shy person off stage as well. So, on stage, I come across extremely sort of, really confident, just like Elvis, but off stage, I'm very reserved. I like keeping myself to myself. So it's like people come up to me and they chat to me and I chat back. But I'm still so shy as myself because I am just me and that's who I am. Um, so yeah, it's hard. It's hard work to get that backing behind you. Again, like we said, when you've got tributes out there like Dean Z and Ben Potts and all these guys, Bill Shay, people have heard of these guys before and they're doing these big world tours and things like that. That when you've got little old me or the next tribute who's just doing a British Legion down the road, it can be easy to just go, oh, I won't bother, but I think that you need that for us to sort of grow, and I think there's room for every Elvis tribute. If you want to get to the top and win competitions, or you just want to sing in your local pub, I think there's room for every Elvis tribute. And I think you should just go and listen to every tribute and just sort of give them a chance because, yeah, it is difficult to get that following. It really is.
yeah, especially your local tributes as well. Like the big tributes are brilliant, but the people who are local who start small, like they're the best people to start following.
Absolutely, because when they do hopefully get to a bigger level where they're in theatres and stuff and world tours, they will remember you, and it's amazing. It means you're part of a whole separate community, and you can see them go. I mean, like let's take Emilio Santoro for example. Seeing him start when he was really young, because he's a similar age to me actually, and watching him grow, and people have followed his career to where he is now, and it's just amazing to have to be part of that. It's just incredible. So yeah, I think if you can, definitely support, your local tribute.
And your social clubs too, yeah. That's what I
Absolutely,
find.
that
There's a lot of I've heard a lot of stigma around like social clubs and stuff, but you go and they're normally the friendliest people, and it's just so nice
yeah.
to go somewhere and everyone's dancing and singing. It's a good environment.
It is absolutely, and you know what? It's unfortunately for the times that we're in now, a lot of places are shutting down, and that's what as tribute myself I find really difficult. One week you could be singing at this venue, and the next week it can be shut, and it's happened to me before, and it's just heartbreaking because you think I've had such a great show in there. It was packed out. The floor was packed out. They all wanted me back, and yet now it's shut because the support's not there all the time, and it's so sad to see. So if I think COVID is a lot of to blame for that. I think a lot of people don't go out as much anymore because they have things at home which they put in place when they were in lockdown. So it's really sad, really, but it's worth just go. I mean, if you see a tribute on your local, just go down and just support it, support the tribute, support the club. It's amazing.
Did you do much during COVID? Like, did you? I know a lot of people did live streams.
So I never done any live streams in COVID because again, I was just I had my first professional sort of show where I was sort of signed to my manager um, a week before the lockdown, basically. So just as I was about to go have a run of loads of gigs for the first time, it all got shut down. And for 2 years, it was really difficult to stay motivated. It was like, oh, is this a sign for me not to do this? Because I've just started and now I have to stop. And then it was 2 years later, but I kept it going. And I did sort of do a few sort of like videos where I filmed myself singing some songs and posted them on Facebook in my bedroom and stuff. Um, but yeah, other than that, it was really, really tough. But then at the end, I was just so I knew I wanted to do it, and it wasn't going to stop me. So after that, after them 2 years, I just properly pursued it.
So did you find that over COVID, did you try and like keep up a, I guess, fan base or like following, and a lot of people, were
Um,
asking about it and stuff?
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of tributes did end up getting a bigger fan base because of the whole COVID time. But like I said, I just didn't do much in regards to putting myself out there as such. Because again, I was only about 18 at the time, so 17, 18. So for me, I didn't know anything about the business or the world of Elvis tributes and stuff like that. So I was just sort of learning still, so I didn't really put myself out there enough. I wish I did. Now looking back at it now, I have all the equipment and stuff to do that, and the fancy backdrop to make it look a lot more professional than just my bedroom. So yeah, it's something I wish I did. I really do, but it's like I say, it's only now that I'm sort of confident in my ability to sort of do it, whereas then I was still very much learning.
That's good though. It's good that you've got the amenities to do it if you needed to, or I think I saw you done a live stream before, and I find that they're good, especially
Yes, yeah,
for
I have.
Sorry, go on.
No, yeah, I was just going to say yes. Yeah, I've done a few now. It was something I wasn't sure I'd ever do because it's so different. Because you feed off the crowd, then you just sing into your camera, and it's like really strange to get to. But I actually found out that I just really loved it. It's great because you can do songs which you can't really do on stage because I tried to do as many different Elvis songs. Some everybody knows, and some which are a little bit rarer Elvis songs. But sometimes it doesn't always work on the stage when you do like a slow sort of song which not many people know. So I can come on and just do them songs, and people just love it because you are just sitting in your lounge and just enjoying listening to the songs like you would an Elvis album.
It's good as well for those people who are kind of far away or busy or can't get out to see one of your shows. It's good that they still get involved and be able to see you.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, other people listening from America and Canada that have all, started following my career now. And although, they've never seen me live on stage, they follow and they keep updated. And hopefully, I can go to Canada or America and hopefully they can catch me when I am over there. So yeah, I think it's brilliant. It is really, really good. And again, like I said, I wish I'd done it a lot sooner. I really do.
It's cool. It's really cool how our technology has developed so much that you're able to do that to people who are in another country. It's just
Yeah,
impressive.
it is impressive. Yeah, it is. It is great. Yeah, no, it always makes you think of Elvis as well with technology nowadays. What his music would be like, later on in the 2000s. What would his music been like? And now, it's really interesting to think about. But yeah, technology is brilliant. It's brilliant for tributes. Like we say, it means you can get a following without before back in the day it must have been so difficult because you would have just had to go out to your clubs and pubs and it would have just been word of mouth and little flyers given out on the street. So yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing.
I always think of like that when you see how big Elvis got, and there was no social media, there was no internet. That was just word of mouth.
Yeah, Yeah, it is crazy. It really is.
I think it would have been cool knowing what Elvis would have been like in the 80s.
Yeah, I think 80s Elvis definitely would have been a statement. I think that's for sure. I think, yeah,
The remixes.
yeah.
Brilliant. It's just great. I think you're doing a really good job.
Thank you very much. Yes, I hope so. I hope so.
I'd say so. I mean, especially with all the competitions now and like new stuff, and it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm doing. I forgot to mention I'm doing the that Young Guns show next year as well, which is all of us young guys, and it was a real privilege and honour to be asked to do that. Because again, there's so many young guys, so to actually be asked to do that and be one of them is a real honour. And hopefully I can showcase a show. Well, we haven't quite discussed what sort of shows we're all doing yet, um, but hopefully we can all sort of just cover all of Elvis's life really, and just prove that there is some young guys out there, and with a future really.
I think that's great. I've seen that on Facebook a few times, and I think that it's good that the younger generation have the chance to be like, we can do this.
Yeah,
There's a lot of the older generation being like, well, you weren't around for Elvis, so you don't know Elvis like we do. But the fact that there
yeah,
are people young who can go out there, it's amazing.
absolutely. I think it just proves that we're not just sort of doing it for sort of like the sake of doing it and sort of like monetary gain or anything like that. We are doing it because we truly love Elvis, and I think it's about showing that and showing that we do work hard, to make sure that the tribute that we're putting on is respectful, and we're not just going out there and being silly and just doing whatever. We are truly, the future. As I say, we are truly just showcasing that really, because there's so many. I mean, I think you could have done about a month's worth of shows with the amount of young talent out there now. So yeah.
When it comes from the heart as well, you know it's genuine.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just amazing. It's great to still have that younger influence in the Elvis world.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It really is because again, he started when he was 19. He hit the scene when he was 19. For me to just be 21, it's crazy to think that he was only just starting his career, and now I'm sort of betraying him. It's just crazy. And again, I do a lot of the 70s stuff as well, and it's like I'm 21, but I'm singing as him when he was in in the 1970s. So it's a weird head thing to get your head around, but yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. I love every second, and I think that's the main thing. If you love it, then do it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. At 19, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. And to think that Elvis is just like thrown into fame.
Yeah, this. Oh, I couldn't imagine it to be that famous, that young at that time. Wow.
It's hard to imagine he was a real person. I always say that. The fact that he did so much and that he's so well known everywhere by just his first name. It's hard to imagine like he was real.
You know what? It's funny you say that because it's exactly the same way that I think of it. That how this man was that real. Was he actually? Was it all just a simulation? And he was
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
I don't know. It's so strange. I mean, everything about him was unique and iconic that nobody else. People followed it afterwards with the hairstyle and stuff like that. But he was a real sort of unique person and his own being. It's really weird. He was probably an alien. I mean, who knows?
Maybe. Oh god, I'm gonna start a whole new conspiracy theory on Elvis being an alien. You could be right.
It's just it's too good to be true. That's what I say. Too good to be true.
It